Welcome back, everyone, to another Coach Blakers podcast. This podcast is going to be about Riot removing duo queue. It's only going to be solo queue and flex queue. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't know. Of course, before we get started, I have a quote for you guys. But of course, before the quote, I plug. Yes, I do. CoachBlanket.com if you guys are interested in coaching sessions, especially seeing that there is no more duo queue. You're going to have to carry yourself. So you might as well learn to do it so that you can not have problems. I mean, I'm just saying. CoachBlanket.com in the description below. Now, let's start off with the quote that I have today. So the quote that I have today is, make good choices today so you don't have regrets tomorrow. Let me read it one more time for you guys. Make good choices today so you don't have regrets tomorrow. Now, why would I have a quote like this considering you don't really have a choice in the matter? The thing is, before Riot really does do anything kind of this drastic, they try their best to actually understand what they're doing before they do it. Sometimes they don't and they just shoot in the dark, but most of the time, especially when it comes to competitive modes, it usually isn't a shot in the dark. They usually try to do their best, whether they, miss or they hit the target, they usually try to do their best. And so a lot of people may be thinking, why would they choose to remove duo queue? Like, why would you just not keep maybe like duo queue in its own form, solo queue in its own form, and then flex queue for like teams? I think that'd be pretty cool to have like a solo queue and then a duo queue and then a flex queue, but also they could have just duo queues going to flex mode, which then help a lot. I have the post down below if you guys want to look at it, but pretty much here's what's happening. They want to get rid of duo queue because they want to make kind of solo queue. I'm gonna call it solo queue because it's called solo duo, but for less confusion, I'm gonna just call it solo queue, okay? So they want to remove duo queue because of solo queue. And there are a lot of problems with solo queue, especially because people will do it with players that are higher. People will do it with players that are too low. I mean, I guess it's kind of both, right? If you're the higher player doing it with the lower, you're doing it with someone lower. If you're a lower player, you're doing it with someone higher. So either way, like it's still like that. Now, if you got to think about it, right? How many of you guys actually do it with players that are your skill level, whether they're smurfing or they are actually your skill level, like within your brackets? Usually it's not that frequent. Most of the time someone's doing with someone that is a division, a tier below them or a tier above them. They want to cut that out. They want to make sure that, okay, that might happen, but for the most part, we want to look to have you have games in your division. So if you're gold 3, you shouldn't really have anybody that's gold 2. I mean, you shouldn't have anybody that's gold 1. You shouldn't have anybody that's silver 1. You should only have gold 4, gold 3, and gold 2 if you were to get anybody else out of your bracket. Excuse me. So, I mean, that's pretty healthy if you think about it, right? Because that really shows your individual skill. It really shows how good you are. Now, for someone who doesn't play with duos that often, I myself, I don't really see an issue with this, but I know a lot of you guys do play duos, especially when I coach you guys as duos, right? You guys are like, you guys want to play as duo. So the fact that Riot would be going about removing duo queue, once again, they would have to really think hard about like, what is it going to do? What is it going to do to our player base? What is it going to do to the players that don't duo? I think that if we remove duo queue though, games and players will become... So I think solo queue would be a lot more or a lot less for fun. I think the reason why a lot of players treat solo queue the way they do, about like not having ranked goals, about like not climbing, like the amount of players that say they want to get better versus the amount of players that actually want to improve, they're drastic numbers. Like I've seen literally a while ago when I first started coaching and whatnot, and before that, when I first tried to get better at the game myself, right, there were a lot more people ready to get better. There was a lot more people ready to just, really go hard because everything, especially within like the social media, which is like YouTube and stuff, was all about improving, all about getting better. The vibe of the community was like, dude, we need to get better. We need to perform well. Like this is going great. Eventually, it got to the seasons where it's like, I just play League and I troll around. And a really good thing, and a really good reason why is because players tend to duo. When you tend to duo, a lot of responsibility doesn't really fall on you, especially when you have someone else telling you kind of the same thing. If we duo and we get a really bad team, I'm like, man, our team sucks. Your duo's like, man, our team sucks. Yeah, this is stupid. Like, and then it's a lot less of a hit taken to you if you lose. It's a lot more fun and more enjoyable because you're playing with a duo, so it doesn't really feel that bad. Also, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but when someone's duoing, they tend to be a lot more vocal. They tend to be a lot more, they tend to flame a lot more. They tend to have a lot more things to say because they're with their duo. It's very weird. Even in like normals or flex queue, you'll notice it too. If it's a pre-made group, usually there's a lot more typing involved because, hey, I'm with my buddies. You know what I'm saying? And that's not really the type of vibe you should be having playing in solo queue. When you have a duo, your duo should be trying to improve as much as you are. That being said, going back to that point of what I made, the amount of players that say they want to get better versus the amount of players actually wanting to improve is very, very slim. It's very easy to say, hey, I want to improve. Very easy to say it, but when are you going to go do it? And I say this because I've offered free, like free VODs or free coaching within the past. And every single person that said, hey, I want to improve, I want to get better, never took advantage of it. Every single person. Every single person that's ever asked me, can you help me and stuff like that? I'm having a hard time. And when I say okay, and I'm giving them, when I try to give them like a free coaching or a free VOD review, they're either busy, they don't have time, they feel like they're taking advantage. Like there's always some excuse to why they just can't do it. And then you would see that they're playing game after game after game. And it's like, so you don't have time to get help for about 15, 20 minutes, but you got time to play multiple games, but then come back to me and complain about it. I'm not saying it's a bad thing that you're frustrated. I say you like I'm talking to you direct. I mean, I guess, hi, how you guys? I'm not saying that like it's bad to be frustrated, but I am saying that like, when is this line going to go away? And I think the first step is removing duo queue. I think the fact that if we play solo, games or MMR is much more balanced. You don't have a lot of autofills. You don't have a lot of players picking champs they don't know. Well, that might still happen. But you should get their roles a little bit more frequently, because when you have a duo, you're basically kicking someone off their role, forcing them to autofill. If I queue as jungle, my duo queues as ADC, one of us is kicking somebody off. I mean, that's just how it's going to be, right? And if there's another duo queuing, and so there's two duos in one team, there's going to be a lot of people kicked off. Right, and then that even makes more problems for the whole entire team, because not only are they going to pick a champ they don't know because they don't play the role, but also they just don't play the role. So getting rid of that mentality of like, hey, I'm chilling with my duo, I'm having a good time, and that like you're supposed to, don't get me wrong, having fun in like a ranked mode, having fun in any game is like the purpose. But there should be a fine line between having fun and really trying your best. It should really be like in the middle. You should not be over one, whereas like I'm having too much fun, I don't care about improving, and you shouldn't be, I'm only strictly care about improving, I don't even have fun, but I'm trying to get better. Like that doesn't work. You gotta be there, right? And I don't think there's enough of that, especially on NA. I mean, other servers, honestly, it's a little bit better, I'm not gonna lie, but for NA it's blatantly obvious how many players just are not really playing ranked to improve. They're just playing ranked to have something to do. They're just playing ranked to play with their friends or their family. And once again, that should not be what solo queue is for. That should not be what duo queue is for. That should be what normals is for. That should be what special game modes are for. That should be what, hell, even flex queue. Like that should be what that's for. Like where we're playing with our buddies and really just kind of doing our thing. And there we go. Right? And then for like the try-hard like 5-mans, that's where you go to Clash, which I think is a really good idea. Clash is awesome. But taking that mentality into duo queue and solo queue, you're impacting too many other players because you just don't feel like winning, or you're just having a good time with your buddy and you guys don't care, or I'm on my Smurf account playing with my duo and that guy or girl is now getting boosted. Whether or not you're trying to, you're clearly a better skill level than them, but you have to Smurf in order to play with them, so then you're boosting them indirectly, even though you're just having fun with them, which makes them MMR imbalance, which means that if they do play by themselves, it's going to make the games harder for everybody else, and duos making games harder. Duos make games harder for everybody else because maybe the duos aren't that great, but they chose to duo with each other anyway. So now the MMR is inflated and you got two people that suck on your team, and it's horrible. It's a lot of just random stuff mumbled up. I think there's a lot more good that would come out of removing duo queue than bad. Okay? And as I said, I don't think they should just remove the ability to play with one other person and just say, hey, flex mode. Like, I don't like that because I personally don't care for flex. And I know a lot of players don't care for flex. So what you're doing is saying, hey, duos, you're going to have to be forced to go to flex and to a mode you don't care about. Look, that's just weird. And I think Riot would have a better time. I think Riot will eventually like come to some conclusion where it's like, oh, yeah, we can't do that, but we can do this. Maybe, like I said, like add a, I don't know, like add just a straight duo queue. I think that'd be really, really healthy. Because you're only like The reason is like you can't queue by yourself, so MMR shouldn't really be imbalanced because you're only playing with your friend or you're only playing with the people in that group, and that makes it better, right? Because like if you play duo and you have a certain MMR and then you got people playing solo, you got to put both of those MMRs together, especially because some people don't even play by themselves ever. They only play as duo. So if that's the case, MMR is always going to be fluctuating and imbalanced. But if you only have a duo queue and I only play with my duo, or even make another duo, like whatever, like you still have that like group MMR. You know what I'm trying to say? And I think that'd be better for placing people that want a duo. So I think the solution would be have a solo queue, have a duo queue, have a flex queue, and have a clash queue. Or have clash more frequent and get rid of flex queue. I think that'd be a pretty healthy way to think of it too. But I don't think a lot of players like having fives, and it's very hard to come across that every single day, stuff like that. So maybe like just keep the flex, and remove maybe like blind pick or draft pick, something like that. I don't know. I feel like blind pick is kind of whack. It's hard, but I definitely think there should be a solo, a duo, and like a 3-man plus kind of queue, like flex. If we can get those 3 things happening, I think the game would just be all out better. I don't think they should just strictly remove duo queue, but I definitely think that solo queue and duo queue should be separated. It also removes boosting. Just like someone wanting to boost, you can't really boost in solo queue because you're by yourself. You can't queue together. So let me just kind of sum up what I was saying. So that the negatives of solo queue only would just strictly be, I think, the fact that players just can't play with their friends and their family. You're basically saying, hey, we can't play with the people that we want to play with, and we're forced to play solo, which means a lot of players probably don't want to play solo. That's the only thing that I think of that can be bad. If you guys have any other things, let me know in the comments below, but I don't think there's much bad coming from it. Other than the specific reason I can't play with my friend. You know, it's not going to be enjoyable. I don't see like anything else being remotely an issue. MMR, oh, my MMR is going to be horrible because I'm not doing, like, that doesn't make sense. Oh, you know, the quality of games are so much better when you do it. Like, once again, it just doesn't make sense. Like, there's no negatives to removing duo queue other than I can't play with my friend, or I can't play with my family member, or I can't play with my significant other. Like, that would be the only bad side, is the I don't want to say the cooperative, but like the community engaging mode. Like, I can't do that. I'm forced to be by myself, and I don't like that. That's the only negative I could think that could come out of just like removing duo queue entirely. But the positives, removing duo queue entirely, is just really, I think there's a lot more, right? Removing the ability to boost. You're removing the ability of like people in duo queue that shouldn't be duo queuing, whether or not one player is really good and one player sucks, or they both suck, or they're both really good, or they're both smurfing. Like, you know, there's just the MMR problems, where like you're getting into a game with things that you shouldn't be getting into the game with, and you guys are hard stomped. I think there'd be less hard stomping games, and there's a lot of hard stomps. Whether it's my team or the enemy team, somebody's getting hard stomped most of the time. There'll be less of that. There'll also be less of autofills. Because, like, you know, if you don't have to worry about duos like barging into other people's roles, you should probably have less autofills, which means the quality of games would be a lot better, because of the simple fact that you can get your role, meaning that the person that's probably picking their champion probably knows how to play their champion. Also, it's just a more serious competitive environment. You know, if you know that I have to go in by myself, you're not going to want to just go in and just troll. Like, who queues to troll ranked by themselves? Usually they troll because they are not good and they're not performing well. So they just chalk it up to, I'm just going to troll because it makes me feel better, even though that I just am not a good player. And I you know, and then they just kind of turtle up and just say I'm a troll, and just mask the fact that they can't do well because they troll. And like I said, there's people that do troll when they're with their duo or something like that, because they're like, I don't care. I've actually seen one of the duo, like, I guess the guy was boosting him or something. I'm like, I did something. I think I pushed his wave or something like that. And the duo decided to start trolling. No, I took blue buff. That's what it was. I took his blue buff. And he wasn't even near it. I didn't steal it or anything. I think I was just a mid laner and I was just taking the blue buff because I needed it. And the dude just straight up, like, ran it down. His duo wasn't doing that well. You know, I myself and then someone else that was, like, carrying the game. I think it was him. I think it was only like me and then the jungle carrying the game. And I took the blue buffs because I needed it. I think it was Rise or something like that. And then the dude just started running it down. Just started dying over and over on purpose. And then I looked at the duos, and those guys have been duoing for like 15 games. And I thought about it, and I was like, you're duoing with that? Like that's what you're duoing with? So either they're really, really good friends, or he was boosting. And there we go. Once again, that just goes to show, like, why have that type of behavior in your game if you can just reduce it by not having players being able to boost or being able to duo with players that are clearly better than them. I think that would help a lot, and I think it'd be really, really good. So, that's my thoughts on it. I want to know your guys' thoughts. What do you guys think? Do you think, they should just keep it, or they should just, like, separate it? I think they shouldn't remove it entirely. I think they should separate it. I do not think it should be with solo queue, though, because I feel like it's just causing too many problems, whether it be on the player spectrum or whether it be on the in-game spectrum. There's just too many problems, too much trolling, too much boosting, too much MMR inflation, too much like skill gap difference, too much like rank differences. It's just all over the place. So I definitely think that should be just separated. That way you can see the true skill of yourself. Players are going to take it more seriously, hopefully, because if you don't take ranking seriously, you wouldn't even play solo by yourself. Right? How many people you can say really care about improving, but they never play solo queue by themselves ever? I have never met someone who's like, I want to get better, but they only play with the duo or they only play with the group. That just doesn't happen. Usually the players that say, dude, I'm trying to improve, I'm trying to get better, are solo queue players. They'll do every now and then, maybe. They'll play with a friend every now and then. They'll play flex or something. But for the most part, there's some solo queue players. So I think the rank integrity would be really, really good if we just had strict solo queue, and it'd probably go back to normal before, where people just didn't really duo too much because they always kind of play by themselves anyway. So yeah, I mean, I'm curious what your thoughts are. Once again, I just think they should just separate everything. I don't think they should remove anything. They haven't confirmed that they'll do that. They're just looking into it. So if you guys see any videos saying that, they're gonna remove it and it's going away, and unless they update it, that's just, once again, link in the description below for you guys. But it's more of a quality of life change. It's not like, oh, we're just getting rid of it because. It's just a quality of life change across the board for everybody. So that's kind of what they're thinking about. That's what they're looking to do. Whether or not they do it is up in the air right now, but I think it'd be a good choice to just separate it. I don't think it'd be a good choice to remove, but just to separate. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. Do appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed this Coach Buckets podcast, and I will talk to you guys later. Have a good rest of your day and night, and see you guys next podcast.